We're proclaiming 2026 as the year of the brand story, now powered by AI. Let's talk to a brand storytelling expert in today's episode of Closing Time. Thanks for tuning into Closing Time, the show for go-to-market leaders. I'm Val Riley, head of marketing for Insightly and Unbounce. Today, I'm joined by Park Howell. He is author of Brand Bewitchery and The Narrative Gym for Business, and a top 10 podcaster. Park, welcome to Closing Time.
Val, thank you so much for having me.
Park, to start off, what is brand storytelling and why is it so important?
Well, if you aren't telling your story clearly, and that is just your story about your company, about your product, your service, your origin story, or whatever, people will tell your story for you, and it won't be the story you intended unless you intentionally feed them the story you want repeated. That essentially is brand storytelling, because every business is kind of wrapped into a brand in one way, shape, or form. And I use the word brand because we always want to hold some sort of position in between the ears of our customers, in their mental landscape. And you can't do that as a general business or a general company with a general offering. You have to really define your brand story so that it sticks and that it's memorable for the people that you want to connect with. And that includes colleagues, customers, and the communities you ultimately serve.
Well, that's an excellent summary. I have a feeling you've maybe shared that with folks before, but thank you for providing.
Like for 40 years, Val.
Appreciate that. So somebody may have heard that, Park, and think, well, that just sounds like a little woo-woo, but is there science behind it? And what is the science behind it?
Well, there is a lot of science behind it, and there's a lot of people that try to poke holes in the science. But let's put the science aside for a second. Val, when you are done today with business, you are going to go home, or maybe you're going to stop and have a cocktail or wine with someone. And what are you going to do? You are going to sit down and share your day, ask them about their day. Maybe you've got something tumultuous happening in your life you're going to talk about and share that story. They may do the same thing. Maybe there's a tremendous opportunity they have. They're going to share that story. So we are, by nature of being Homo sapiens, storytelling creatures. I like to say we're storytelling apes, essentially, because storytelling is the only thing that separates us from all the other organic organisms that we know, because we Homo sapiens think, plan, organize, and act in story. And the best way to demonstrate that, say, you are selling something. So you go in and you share it with a prospect and you share a story around it. Well, that story is a fiction, because they haven't bought anything yet. They haven't put it into action, right? But once they do and you deliver on the promises you made in that fictional account, it becomes nonfiction. It becomes the truth. It becomes what they are. They become an active participant in your story. So I like to throw all the neuroscience and that stuff where our brain lights up, and there's lots of intel on that, and I'm no neuroscientist, but I just think about it on a very practical level of we are telling stories all the time. It's just when we get into business situations and organizational situations where we think we need to lead with logic and reason so that we sound smart, we come across smart, our products are the smart way to think, when what our audiences really want is that emotional pull of a story first. We sell to the heart, and then we justify, or they will justify that purchase with their heads, logic and reason.
Wow, powerful stuff there. So let's zero in on an actual story, what a brand story might include. And you have a bit of a cheat sheet for folks out there. So if they're listening to this podcast and they're out for a walk or walking their dog or at the gym, a quick way to remember is ABT, and, but, and therefore. So walk me through that ABT model, because it's a super good takeaway for today's listeners.
You bet. And it's great because, if you're walking your pooch out there, just think of and, but, therefore. It is a very simple messaging construct I did not invent. It's been around literally since the beginning of recorded storytelling time. Setup, problem, resolution. And you use it because there's really three statements within an and, but, therefore structure. The first statement is your and statement of agreement. It is sharing with your audience the shared vision of what they want in the world. Then you have the but statement of contradiction. And that is their frustration or whatever negative emotion they are currently experiencing because they don't have what they want. There's a problem, a gap, an obstacle, something standing in their way from getting what they want. The therefore is a statement of consequence. It is now imagine how you're going to feel, the elation you're going to get when you get your product or service needed through us, through the brand. So it's setup, problem, resolution. We call it agreement, contradiction, and consequence because those are the three forces of story. Agreement, act one, sets the stage. Yes, this is what we want. But here's the plot twist. Here's the problem that you have not yet solved. Therefore, let us show you the way forward with us.
Okay, super easy to remember. And as you know, Unbounce is a landing page company. And so when we were talking initially about this episode, I said, well, can we relate this to landing pages? And I think your face lit up a little bit because you're like, well, absolutely. This is the structure of a landing page. So talk us through that too, because it was really enlightening for me.
Okay. Yeah, great. And for all of you listeners and viewers out there, it's a terrific way to test the and, but, therefore. Just go to your homepage or landing page in your website and see if you are doing what 90% of brands do, and that is chest pounding. We're the greatest brand. We got the greatest product. You're just naturally going to buy from us because, why wouldn't you, right? I want you to switch that from your audience's point of view using the and, but, therefore, and write that landing page from their perspective. And so the way you do that, here are the elements of an and, but, therefore. You want to first start with your audience. Describe them right off the bat. Give me, for instance, well, Val, let's do one for you. That's the easiest way to do it. Let's put you through the ABT. Who would be, who's your number one audience?
We definitely want to talk to a marketer, either in a corporation or an agency that is looking to generate more leads and bring more leads into their sales funnel. Okay, so this will be the rough way to build it out, and then you'd want to wordsmith it, bringing your own creativity. So I would start off with, let's just say as a chief marketing officer at an ad agency. You're going to say it right. You're just going to define them right there. What do they want relative to what you have to offer? They may not even know what you're offering yet. You're foreshadowing their need for your offering by saying, so you are the CMO. What do they want? They want to launch their campaigns really fast and they want to get results quickly. So if it's a mistake, they can pivot. Or if it's good, they can double down. Now, what is their negative emotion? Let's go to the but statement of contradiction. But what are they feeling? What's the negative emotion they're feeling? Well, they might not want to invest in another software tool, or they might be hesitant to, buy something else. Overwhelmed is probably a good word. Marketers are we just get hit with so many tools. Our tech stacks are growing rapidly all the time. And there's just, you got to just be diligent about where you spend. All right. So they're hit with too many tools that lead to expanding tech stacks. So then finally, you are going to help them solve this problem. So therefore, how are they going to feel once they've resolved this problem? You're going to feel like you're getting results fast. And, speed is a language that marketers definitely speak. So does that make them feel exhilarated? Overjoyed? They'll feel valued and maybe energized. Let's say energized. Okay. Energized and valued. We're going to give you two of them. Okay. Thank you. Because of what? Because how have you helped solve their problem? By doing what? They're launching their campaigns faster, and they're converting into leads more quickly. They're converting leads quickly. Through your services? Yes.
because you're launching campaigns faster and generating more leads.
Yes.
And then what's the name of your service?
Unbounced Landing Page Builder.
I just quickly wrote this down. And then you would definitely want to take this away and you'd wordsmith it in your own brand voice and so forth. But you're going to say something, folks out here. This is the way you set it up. You want to identify your audience. So as a CMO of a robust ad agency, let's throw a little, get even more specific and give them a little bit of kudos in there. You want to launch campaigns faster and get results so that you can make the changes you need for the most optimization or something. Again, I'm winging it here, but you're totally overwhelmed because you are hit with too many tools that lead to a mire of tech stacks that actually slow you down. Therefore, feel energized and valued when you can launch those campaigns faster and get to that ideal customer quicker and convert them using the unbounced landing page formula.
I feel so understood.
Well, good. And that's horrible writing right there, but you would take that. Now, let me also take it one step deeper for your audiences. So you're always wanting to put your audience at the center of the story. That's why you identify them first and foremost, and you're showing them that you understand them and appreciate what they want and why that's needed, why that's so important to them. And then you demonstrate your empathy when you follow that but with a negative emotion, but you're overwhelmed and undervalued because you are hit with, and then here's the problem. So you start with that negative emotion, use the conjunction word of because, and there's some really fascinating studies by Harvard that indicate why the word because is so important when trying to get people to change their behaviors. It's a cause and effect thing that speaks to our pattern seeking, problem solving, decision making, buying limbic brain. Because, and then you state what the absolute problem is. This overwhelm of tools and these mired in tech stacks that are slowing you down. Now you have opened the story circle as to what the problem is, and that limbic survival brain is saying, how do I solve that? Therefore, and then you don't have to use the word therefore, but I just want you to use it when you first write these out to get the structure right. You could use so. Quite oftenly, I use the word now to build urgency. Now you can feel energized and totally valued because, of what you're going to do. It's not until the second clause in the therefore statement of consequence that you actually introduce the brand and its offering. You always want to keep that story framework focused on what's in it for your audience every step of the way until at the end of it, they just can't die. They're just dying to hear what it is you do. How do I do this? Boom. Then you deliver that. Then what I like to do is I like to follow that with a short little anecdotal story, something that shows what you are doing by telling a real, true story very well, so that you are not making opinions and assertions about your offering, but you're showing the impact that you're made. So you've actually used two story frameworks on there, the ABT and then the 5 primal elements of a short story, basically an anecdote. After that, then you support it all with the logic and reason. How do you do it? What systems do you have? What proprietary approach do you take? But you don't lead with the logic and reason. You lead with the emotion of a story. And that's the best example I could give to you right now on how that works.
Yeah, leading with empathy is always going to be so powerful. So because once I felt understood by the opening section of what you shared, my guard was down a little bit. And I'm definitely then at that point interested in hearing more.
Well, Val, you make a very good point where I talk about the 3 forces of story, of agreement, contradiction, and consequence. When you build them right, you are building what I call, or sharing what I call the 3 forces of trust building. You are demonstrating that you understand your audience. You're showing that you appreciate what they want, why that's important to them. And then you are showing your empathy on why they don't have it. So they're saying, wow, you get me. You know me. You understand my problems. Therefore, what's the way forward? How can you help me?
So what we did just now was super enlightening, and it was just 2 humans talking to each other. But we have to have the obligatory AI question about how AI is changing brand storytelling and what marketers are doing to adopt to AI in storytelling. What's your point of view?
Yeah, I love this question because I was asked it the other day on another podcast. And the question was, how is AI changing storytelling? It's not. Storytelling is the common. It will be around forever. It's where we started. It's where our ancestors navigated and survived the savannah using storytelling. And we are using those exact same frameworks to navigate and survive this onslaught of AI and communication and whatever. It's the storyteller who is changing. And if you already know how to apply these analog frameworks of the and, but, therefore, the 5 primal elements of a short story for big impact, and our 10-step story cycle system. If you know how to use these as that Homo sapien storytelling ape or creature, if you will, then you can use AI to help amplify your impact. You're going to collaborate with it. But if you don't understand these frameworks and you just ask AI to do it, you don't know if what it's giving you is really good or not, or just more of the AI slop coming out. We've had tremendous success using AI in storytelling, but it all starts first with our own innate knowledge of what makes up a good story and how to tell it.
Gotcha. So even that little exercise we did where the language wasn't so great, but I felt like you got the gist. I wonder if we take that, feed it into AI, and see where it goes. That could be a shortcut of sorts.
Well, you could do it. And if you go to Gen AI, like a Chat GPT, just ask it, say, using Park Howell's ABT narrative framework, rewrite the following. You drop it in there, and then it'll give you a pretty good, close proximity of the ABT, but you still have to understand the framework because it's going to make mistakes. It's going to make stuff up, hallucinate. It'll get you close. But it does help you iterate on 5 different ABTs very, very quickly. And then you take them away as the writer you are, you clean them up, and then you use them and, wherever you need to use them.
Got it. Okay. So you mentioned the story cycle, Jeannie. If folks want to learn more about that and about you, where should they go?
Yeah, go to storycyclegenie.ai and just a quick overview of what it is. We have spent 2 years taking everything we know about brand storytelling, our frameworks, and all the intel out of my book, Brand Bewitchery, as well as the Narrative Gym for Business. And we built, it's not an AI, we use AI. We built our own platform called Story Cycle Genie at storycyclegenie.ai. It resides on our Brightsea platform. So everything that you build inside of it is all narrative native, and it's built on all of our frameworks. And then we use AI to help expedite the process, but it's completely locked down from AI. So no AI can access your intel, nor any competitors can access your intel. And then it creates your brand brain first, and then all of your strategy and your content that is always on brand because it's written in your voice does not hallucinate. It never makes a mistake on the ABTs and our other frameworks because we've taught it how to use it to collaborate with you, the user. And we just sent to you over a brand assessment. We ran through the Story Cycle Genie and your actual story narrative based on our Story Cycle system. What did you think of the output you got?
So I gotta say, it nailed it. It was really good. There were, very few things that I would even nip or tuck. So we were pretty much blown away. So thank you for that. You also mentioned that people can get a little bit of taste of what you can do using that free brand story grader on your website. So we should definitely share that with the audience.
Yeah, and that's the same website, storycyclegenie.ai. When you look down, there's a red button that says access the Genie, or there's a white button right next to it that says get your free brand story grade. Click on that, put in your email, your your name, email, and just the URL of your website. And under 60 seconds, it's going to give you a grade from A+ to F- and a 14-point storytelling assessment that validates what you're doing well, reveals gaps that you can easily fix, and it actually even inspires you with new ways to think about your brand story.
All right. Well, everybody get out there, use that free tool, get your report card, and start 2026 off on the right foot with the year of the brand story. Park, can't thank you enough for joining us. This was so insightful and really practical.
Oh, thank you, Val. I appreciate it.
And thanks to all of you for tuning into Closing Time. Remember, you can get this episode and every episode delivered right to your inbox if you click the link in the show notes. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.